Health Center at Lowell High School does provide primary care to the students at Lowell High. We do not currently provide birth control. All of our students are referred to Jackson Street, to our OB Family Planning Department, where they can receive the contraceptive services. So one of the things we've run into is a lot of our students are not making it to Jackson Street to continue their care. In one of our studies, we found that 65% of the students that we had referred to Jackson Street did not make it. And you know, the students talk to me about a lot of reasons why they don't make it to Jackson Street for that continued care. And you know, a lot of them have sports after school, clubs after school. They have to babysit their younger siblings. They don't have a ride. You know, there's all these barriers that are getting, you know, creating obstacles for these students to get to Jackson Street. And I can think of one particular student who came to me seeking birth control, was referred to Jackson Street. She came again, she came again, she came again and was pregnant. You know, so it was a really missed opportunity to, you know, meet her needs right then and there at the school-based health center. Some other communities that have school-based health centers that do provide birth control include Boston, Cambridge, Lynn, Everett, Lawrence, Peabody, Chelsea, Revere, Charleston, Somerville, and they have all made birth control available within their school-based health centers. Some of those communities have worked with their school committee to get approval, while others did not, being that their organization is an independent entity operating within the school. So some communities, like I said, have worked with the school committees, and some have not. And just to go back to what we did touch briefly on last month, and that in the state of Massachusetts, minors are permitted to obtain contraceptives, STI services, prenatal care without parental involvement. So any child under the age of 18 seeking reproductive health services, according to the law, does not need parental consent. And this is currently what is happening at Jackson Street with regards to that confidentiality for minors. Just to talk a little bit more about what we're doing when it comes to providing reproductive health, we're meeting all the needs of the adolescents. We're screening for coercion, partner violence, trafficking, abuse. We're working with the adolescent and talking about communication with their parent or guardian. I've done a lot. I can think of one student in particular who did have a positive pregnancy test in the school-based health center, and we did a lot of role playing on what the conversation with her family was going to look like and how she was going to go about that, and was able to you know, provide her that support through role play. So let's see. And it's what we would like to do here at the school-based health center at Lowell High School is what the health center at Jackson Street has been doing for 25 years in their family planning department, as well as their pediatrics department. So, you know, thinking of, you know, our role at the school-based health center is just an extension of what's going on at Jackson Street, and continuing to provide those full comprehensive services. So, you know, in order to meet the needs of our students and our patients, it is our recommendation that the school-based health center at Lowell High School does provide comprehensive care, which includes birth control.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm wondering if there's anyone else who wanted to speak on this issue from the community that's here. Did you have anything you wanted to add? Or?
No. We do have kind of guidelines of what it might look like as we get going, but we welcome your questions. And
You have to go to the mic, sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's just the TV audience can't hear you.
We do have some guidelines of what it might look like if people were curious about what it looks like within a visit, but we welcome your questions and your thoughts.
Any questions from my colleagues? Mr. Dakota.
Thank you. Are you saying that contraceptives are not being provided at the Lowell High School currently? I was under the impression they were.
That's correct. Condoms are available, but not birth control.
No, no, okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Nutter.
I don't think much has changed where sometimes parents have a difficult time having this type of discussion with their students, with their children. Being one of 11 kids, it never came up much at my house. But I think in this day and age, we need to do everything that we can to, support our students. So I would make a motion that the subcommittee vote to recommend to the whole school committee allowing the expanding of services, including contraception, within the Lowell Community Health Center based at Lowell High School.
Motion by Mr. Nutter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Dakota. Any other conversation or questions? Mr. Hoey?
You-
Yes.
Okay, well, I love nurse practitioners, that's what I have right now. My question's about the STDs. I didn't do a lot of homework on this, I'm just going based on what I know from my job in the prison system, which is terrible. But with STDs, to me, did you say, or I didn't really have a chance to read this through, that it's a rising problem for the high school age kids?
It's rising nationally, with adults and with adolescents.
Now, would you know if I'm right to say the fastest growing population that's having a problem with STDs are senior citizens, seniors? I've read that. It's happening a lot with older people.
Wow.
So I'm really puzzled by that, for sure. But this is a big concern of mine. I got a couple of grandsons growing up, and I want to make sure that they protect themselves. I mean, where do we start? I mean, I know your opinions, but what else can we do to help you guys out? What can we do? That's all I have to ask. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
to
I
slow
think-
that down.
Yeah, I think increasing the students' access to services and to education on STDs, on STD prevention, I think is a great place to start, spreading the word about what we do at the school-based health center so that students are coming down to see us for education, for testing. And I think my experience at the school-based health center too is, a lot of these students aren't having conversations with a trusted adult or, a parent. So having more conversations with our children about risks and ways to protect yourself and making healthy decisions, so.
Yeah, I think we have to do something a little different. I believe maybe use the auditorium at the high school to have professionals come in once a year to. So I know we're probably doing it in health classes and talking to them, but I think if you do it and bring in some guest speakers or, it's a big issue. It's a scary issue to me to hear that number's going up, so. We do have a new superintendent that's only 40, so I'm dying to pick his brain. He might have some ideas too, so not to put you on the spot there, Mr. Superintendent, but I'd like to hear you maybe say a word or two about this, if you don't mind being put on the spot.
Dr. Boyd?
I want to make sure I can provide you the feedback you're looking for, Committee Member Hoey. Can you be specific with the question you're asking?
Yeah, like, I figured, I know for sure that you have a lot of intelligence, and I would like to hear your opinion on what we can do as a school committee to help out their situation. What do you think we should do?
So I think I would defer to the recommendation from our health professionals. I believe that our community-based partnerships should be true community-based partnerships. Any service provided in the community should be accessible in our schools, and I believe that's our best path forward to make sure that we can support our community as a whole.
What do you think about that?
I think that sounds great.
Thank you,
And
Mr. Superintendent.
I will just add that Lowell Community Health Center has trained sexual health educators that are available to come to Lowell High School classes as well. And we have been in the past, but in the recent couple of years, haven't been in classes. So I'll put a plug for that.
Thank you. Mr. Dakota?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having been in the high school for 18 years prior to my retirement, I had many opportunities to talk to my students at the time. and you would not believe how little they know about their bodies. Truly, it's a very sad and scary thing. Ask them where their pancreas is, and forget that. Or they think that they have a pain in some particular part of the body. I say, well, can you point to where that is? And way off, way off. This is, and I agree with you. I've been married to a nurse practitioner for 46 years, and I love her dearly. So, so I believe that maybe we should be looking at our health classes and seeing just what the curriculum is for those classes in terms of what are we teaching our kids. At the end of the day, if they don't know where their gallbladder is, or that they even have a gallbladder and that they don't know where that is, they're going to talk about this pain or that pain, and I know that it's not STDs, but it's all part and parcel with the whole health thing. So I think we should be kind of keeping that on the burner as well, talking about what our curriculum is in terms of the health classes.
Mr. Dakota, would you like to make that in the form of a motion? Because I think that we could, moving forward, look at our sex education program, and I would say middle school and high school.
Oh, middle school for
and-
sure,
And
yeah.
really take a comprehensive look. We could make that as part of our recommendation to the full committee at our next meeting. Would
Make
you
that a motion, sure.
A motion by Mr. Dakota, would you second that? Second by Mr. Nutter. So we had two motions, actually, did we vote on the other one? Oh, sorry, we have to go back to the other one. Any other comments? Mr. Lay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a very similar question or opinion, just like Mr. Dakota, is that once we provide this service to the students at the high school, do we have a program so that we're not insinuating the kids, say, hey, it's okay, we have protection for you, So I wonder if you have any programs to help educate the students in that case.
Yeah, and we do. When the student comes to me with questions about birth control and contraception, I spend a lot of time with that student educating them on all their options, and we have a very lengthy conversation about abstinence and saying no and determining if this is the right time, and talking a lot about this decision they're going to make. So, I do feel that in addition to talking about all of their options, including abstinence and screening them as well for any other risk factors for which we can address, I think is happening.
May I say one more thing? So that's only if they come to you, but normally they already have something planned when they come to you. So I wonder if there is something that we do proactively. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's what Mr. Dakota's motion
Yeah.
will cover. So let's go back to the first motion, which was, and I know Mary's got the information, was to support your recommendation about expanding the reproductive health services at the health center. And do we need a roll call on that, or can we just say all those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And the second motion by Mr. Dakota, seconded by Mr. Nutter, was to recommend to the full committee that we get a report about sex education in Lowell from the middle
Curriculum.
schools right through to the high school, to make sure that that education is happening
Yeah.
throughout. And that was, again, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
The next item on the agenda is the Family Resource Center hours of operation. Now, we had at our last meeting several different scenarios of options for extending our hours so that it would be easier for families to register their children for school. My understanding is we're kind of put the brakes on that right now, and I'd like to ask Superintendent Boyd to tell us what his plan is regarding this issue.
Yeah, thank you, Committee Member Doherty. We're not putting the brakes on. Instead, what we are doing is making sure that we can bring more minds to the table to figure out a path forward for our families. I have had the opportunity to have a great conversation with some of our staff members at our Parent Resource Center today, including Director Duda, as well as some of her staff, as well as additional members of our clerical union who had some insight into the needs of our families. Again, to be clear, I don't assume on the second day on the job here that I have full knowledge of the landscape of Lowell or the needs of our family, but I do believe and I do trust in the knowledge that our staff bring to the table. So we are going to bring several members of the staff at our Parent Resource Center, including our Family Resource staff and our transportation staff that are housed at the Parent Resource Center together. They will bring then a proposal to me of how we properly staff the center for peak hours that will allow us to pilot an initiative going forward during the peak hours at the onset of school registration, which at this point I understand that we really peak at need between the months of August and October. That will allow us to pilot our best thinking, study that, debrief it, and go forward with a permanent process moving forward that's built on not only our best thinking, but also the data that comes from that best thinking. We're hopeful that we'll be able to bring that to you at the next school committee meeting, but I'm going to defer to their first meeting before I set a timeline for them. So Director Duda and Director Dakota, not committee member Dakota, but our Director John Dakota are going to convene that committee, that task force, and they're going to bring that recommendation to me, and I will certainly bring it forward with a full recommendation to the school committee when appropriate.
Well, thank you very much, Superintendent Boyd. I think that sounds like an excellent plan. Obviously, we all want to do the best for our families, making the schools accessible, the registration process as simple as possible. I'm wondering if any members who are here from the Family Resource Center would like to say anything at this point, or?
No, thank you very much, Chair Doherty. And I'm just looking forward to working with all of the staff and the superintendent. We have a good plan going forward to re-examine how we service families down at the center. So we're very excited about this. Are there any questions?
Mr. Hoey.
Yeah, I just want to make a few comments to the new superintendent. The lady that's standing behind me, I feel, brought that resource center to a point that I've never seen it so good. The way they treat the people in there, it's almost like going to Disneyland. I do call Miss Duda a lot, and I have people that always, the biggest complaint is my kid didn't get a certain school. I think I got jumped over the list. I say, listen, call Miss Duda. Tell her Andy Dakota told you to call. No, I actually use my own name. I'm sorry, Andy. I use my own name, but I say, call Miss Duda. She's going to give it to you straight. It might not be what you want to hear, but please just go to her and see what she says. And I haven't had one complaint yet. And I think I do send at least 3 people on average on about a month. Every month, at least 3 or 4 her way, and I'm only one person. So I want you to know that that resource center to me is a jewel. And if you can extend the hours or something like that happens, all the better. So thank you, Mrs. Duda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey.
Any other questions, comments? So at this point, I think I would just accept a motion to send this as a report of progress. And we will be looking forward to getting more information from you. So a motion by Mr. Dakota, second by Mr. Nutter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Nutter, seconded by Mr. Dakota. All those in favor? Thank you all very much.